Welcome in, everyone, here at the Voice of College Football. We got some Tide Talk for you and a lot going on with Alabama football. We got Stephen M. Smith on the line. Touchdown Alabama is the place to be to catch Stephen. And, of course, his Monday, Wednesday, Friday show right here on YouTube, In My Own Words, at 6 Central. Stephen, good to see you. How is everything?
Everything going good, Mark. Got a chance to enjoy the NFC and the AFC championship game. So now we got Super Bowl 57 in 2 weeks in Arizona, and boy, Crimson Tide will be well represented in the big game for the Vince Lombardi Trophy.
You know, when we saw Jalen Hurts orchestrate Alabama to within a drive of a national championship in 2016, then the next season, of course, they march on to a national championship. Tua comes in relief in the second half. I don't know. For as much as I think anybody with half a brain admired what Jalen Hurts was accomplishing as a collegiate quarterback, we necessarily saw him raising his game, especially with the downfield passing, to be able to not only play in the NFL, but now he's leading the team with the best record in the NFL that is marching on to the Super Bowl. It's pretty remarkable.
If you look at just the journey, Mark, this young man at 24 years of age, it is incredible. And I go back to the summer before the 2016 season started. I remember I had talked to so many people I knew within the program about, Jalen Hurts possibly being the first true freshman quarterback to start in the Nick Saban era. And upon me breaking the story for Touchdown Alabama before the season started, I got hit with criticism from everywhere, but we all knew what happened. Hurts became the guy and put together just an incredible 3 years at Alabama, despite, being benched for Tua Tagovailoa in the national championship against Georgia. But he comes back in the SEC championship the following year, takes over for an injured Tua, and gets Alabama to that conference championship against Georgia. He goes on to Oklahoma, has the great year there with Lincoln Riley, kind of polishing him up there for the NFL. And just what he has done 2 years as a starter, especially this year, showing everybody that, look, I'm not just a complete quarterback, I'm a complete player, and I can be a star in this league. And he's become an absolute leader and an absolute superstar in the league, to where he's a finalist for the MVP. He's a finalist for Offensive Player of the Year. He's one win away from a Super Bowl. I mean, Jalen Hurts is one win away from becoming the fourth former Alabama quarterback to take a team to the Super Bowl, joining Bart Starr, Joe Namath, and Ken Stabler. I mean, to have your name just mentioned among those three men, wow. Jalen Hurts is one win away from doing that. So just his ability to keep the same demeanor about himself and silence critics all at the same time, just a remarkable wisdom from a man that's 24 years old.
Yeah, Alabama certainly jumped on top of the rest of college football when it came to placing quarterbacks in the Super Bowl in those early years, but it's been a while. And now with Jalen Hurts. And the thing that's also stunning about what he's been able to accomplish, Stephen, is he's not going to fool anyone into thinking that he's the next Peyton Manning or Tom Brady when it comes to dissecting a defense or making precision throws downfield. He's been able to fit into what has become the new NFL with players like himself and Lamar Jackson as starting quarterbacks.
I mean, absolutely. And it goes back to, give the Eagles front office a ton of credit. You give Jeff Lurie, you give Howie Roseman, you give that brass of Philadelphia a ton of credit. They knew we already have a quarterback in Carson Wentz, but they saw something in Jalen Hurts in the second round of a 2020 NFL draft, and they thought, we got to roll the dice here. Let's just see what we can get. Let's just see what we have. Let's see what we can produce. I know at that time, Doug Peterson was the head coach. You let go of Doug Peterson. You bring in a Nick Sirianni, an underrated coach, an underdog mentality that matches the underdog mentality of a Jalen Hurts, and you just saw it grow. And then you pair it with a quarterback coach in Brian Johnson. And a lot of people forget Brian Johnson played quarterback at Utah, was behind Alex Smith. He coached the quarterback position in the SEC, whether it was Mississippi State, whether it was at Florida. And then you pair Sirianni, an underdog, Brian Johnson an underdog, with Jalen Hurts an underdog, and they all three formulate this type of a season. You got to give the Eagles credit for understanding. We know we got something here. Can we fine-tune it and put everything correct around him? And the Eagles brass did just that.
Stephen, I don't know if Alabama fans forget that Brian Johnson played a high level of quarterback at Utah. Going back to that Sugar Bowl.
Mark, I remember that 09 Sugar Bowl of the 08 season. Brian Johnson, 336 passing yards, 3 touchdowns to beat Alabama 31-17. I remember that.
Absolutely. And then we've got Devontae Smith in what was otherwise a lackluster NFC Championship game for a number of reasons. Devontae Smith turns in one of the jaw-dropping plays that you will ever see in championship history.
I mean, it's reminiscent of his catch against LSU in the 2020 COVID season, reminiscent of his catch against Georgia in the national championship game. I mean, Six has always found a way to make the big plays when they matter. And, this season, another 1,000-yard year for him to put with the 1,000-yard season of A.J. Brown. It's just Philadelphia with the draft. They put the right guys around Jalen Hurts, and you're seeing it. And just his ability to take his game to the next level and flourish as a quarterback. I don't think people realize Jalen finished the regular season 10th in the league for passing yards with 3,701. I don't think people recognize that. I don't think people recognize he's right now 39 total touchdowns in the year. He only had 6 picks, all season. And this is a guy that finished in the top 5 or top 10 in several quarterback categories. There's a reason why, he was a finalist for the MVP and the AP Offensive Player of the Year. He's taken leaps and bounds of growth in his game as a player.
Let's not forget, of course, about Josh Jobe, and also Landon Dickerson has made his way into the starting lineup for a Super Bowl team.
Oh, absolutely. LD, Landon Dickerson, what a job he's had as an offensive lineman. Alabama fans miss his presence in terms of being a center up front. That great 2020 offensive line for the Tide, where Dickerson was the man, was the Iron Man, the glue to that team, the communication in terms of that entire group. He entered the NFL with a knee injury, but healthy now, playing great ball now up front. And then Josh Jobe, I know he was plagued with some injuries his final year at Alabama, but on the Eagles team, he's fully healthy, doing what he has to do to help this team. So to have 4 guys that were a part of championship runs at Alabama in the NFL, still carrying that same mindset taught by Coach Saban, just a joy to watch.
Stephen M. Smith, touchdown Alabama, in my own words. If you're not familiar, you got to get on over to In My Own Words each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on YouTube at 6 Central. Give Stephen a call, talk Tide, talk the SEC. All right, let's get to the current deal there at Alabama. And, of course, this team doesn't have an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator at this point. We have seen in previous seasons where just by what Nick Saban has said, hey, we provide opportunities for tremendous coaches and we want them to move on in their careers. And we've seen the likes of Lane Kiffin and Kirby Smart do just that. Maybe a bit of a different situation this time involving Bill O'Brien and Pete Golding. But regardless, they're out, and there's much speculation as to who those guys are going to be that are going to fill those spots.
Well, Mark, I know the Alabama football fan base here in Tuscaloosa and around surrounding areas, it's like waiting for the results of a blood test. When is Coach Saban going to make the move? Why is he taking so long to do this? But in my opinion, I feel like Saban wants to get the right guy. He wants to get the correct guy that fits what he's trying to have happen here in terms of the program. So a lot of the speculation on the defensive side has been, is Jeremy Pruitt coming back? Is he the guy for the defensive coordinator position? And now I know Pruitt has the cloud of the recruiting violations that happened at Tennessee during his tenure over his head that you're trying to get cleared here with the NCAA. The question is, if Pruitt becomes the guy, does the NCAA hit him with a sanction? Does he hit him with a suspension? Does something happen with the Alabama football program. That's been a question there. Glenn Schumann's name's been thrown into the conversation in terms of, does Alabama get Glenn Schumann back in Tuscaloosa? He was once in T-Town as a graduate assistant from 2008 to 2014. 2015, he was a director of football operations before going to Georgia. There's conversation about, do you bring in Jim Leonard from Wisconsin, Jimmy Lake from Washington, or formerly from Washington. A lot of names have been thrown in here, but the most one under speculation is Jeremy Pruitt. In terms of offensive coordinator, there's kind of two names that are kind of going neck and neck right now, from what I'm being told. That would be Jeff Lebby, who is currently at Oklahoma, and also that name again, Brian Johnson, who's with the Philadelphia Eagles. Those two names are kind of in the mix right now. Which one does Nick Saban pull remains the question. But Saban knows, with the momentum Kirby Smart's got going on there at Georgia, back-to-back national championships, their defense is playing with the bullying mentality, and you took a Stetson Bennett, former walk-on quarterback, and you give back-to-back national championships with him. Saban knows there's a sense of urgency in Tuscaloosa, and I got to hit on these coaching hires that I'm about to make pretty soon here. So there's speculation involving Pruitt. There's speculation involving, is Jeff Lebby the guy? Is Brian Johnson the guy in terms of offensive coordinator? People in Tuscaloosa and surrounding areas here, Mark, just waiting on when the announcement can come here.
Hey, Stephen, in looking at early enrollees, I believe they're on campus, correct? Already ready to go, involved in winter workouts?
Absolutely. They're here.
I don't know that I've ever seen this number, Stephen. 28 signed for the class, 24 are early enrollees.
And Mark, these guys are hungry. I mean, this 2023 group, the hunger to me rivals Saban's first class in 2008. That's the hunger of this group. I mean, so many of them talk about, I want to reset the culture. I want to get on the field. You know, I want to help this team get a national championship, whether it's offensive linemen that are in this class, a Miles McVay, a Caden Proctor, a Wilkin Formby. These guys are talking, wanting to have that mentality, whether it's defensive backs like Tony Mitchell, Jaleel Hurley. They're talking, wanting to win championships, whether it's, running backs like Justice Haynes, Richard Young. They're talking that mindset, whether it's receivers like Juco, Malik Benson. Everybody that has enrolled early, these 24 names, they're saying, why not us? We're in here. We want to set this culture back right the way it needs to be done in Tuscaloosa. And I'm just excited for spring ball to see how many of these young men can actually have a role, whether it's as day one starters, whether it's as marquee contributors within the rotation, regardless of position. I'm excited for spring ball to get here.
These poor Iowa fans are saying, could you not have just left this 1 5-star in Caden Proctor? We thought we had him, and now you guys have dozens of them, and you take him as well. Because, Stephen, there are 5-star offensive tackles, which that's a rare commodity in and of itself. But what the things that I hear from scouting reports and other recruiting people about Caden Proctor is that he's even maybe a cut above that.
I'm going to say this. It's going to be very intriguing where he fits in his first season, Mark. I kind of have him as an offensive guard to start his career, and that's just due to, remember, Alex Netherwood came in top-rated tackle. Saban had him play guard his first year. Evan Neal, top-rated tackle. Saban had him play guard his first year. You look at both of those two guys, Caden Proctor, top-rated tackle, but I could see Nick Saban pulling the card again, starting him off as an offensive guard and then kicking him back out to his natural spot, which is tackle. If I had to put my finger on how this offensive line could look if the starting group to open spring ball, I could very well see it from left to right. J.C. Latham, Tyler Booker, Seth McLaughlin, Caden Proctor, and at right tackle, big Elijah Pritchett at 6'8", who would have played last year if not for a pectoral injury in summer workouts. He had to have surgery on that. So that would be my projected starting offensive line if I had to put my finger on it to open spring practice.
Traditional signing day coming up in a couple days, but with 28 signed in this class, is there any room for anyone else? Do you expect any other rumblings?
I think think there's one name that Alabama would like to get, and I know a lot of the guys that have signed early are trying to get him. That would be 5-star defensive back Cormani McClain. That's the one guy that Richard Young, among others, they are chomping at the bit to get him to Tuscaloosa. A guy that's got all the tools of the tape. When you look at a 5-star defensive back, he's got the size, he's got the length, the range, the athleticism to be possibly a shutdown, knockdown corner. So that's the name that a lot of Alabama fans want to get in. That's the name that a lot of the early enrollees want to have in on campus, not be Cormani McClain.
Stephen, I don't think we've had a chance to talk to you since the early declarations for the NFL draft. The way that all played out, were there any surprises there? Anything of note in regards to, again, anybody that surprised you in regards to jumping to the NFL or coming back to Bama?
I think one name surprised me in terms of jumping to the NFL, and that would be Eli Ricks at corner. I wanted to see him come back for another season to really put forth more tape to the NFL scouts. I understand he had a really good freshman year at MSU in 2020, had the 4 interceptions, made the All-SEC freshman team and freshman All-America team. But, his second year, he missed 10 games because of a shoulder injury. So the scouts didn't really get that tape of growth in year 2. And in this past season, he did not get on the field as a starter until the Mississippi State game. So you have to wonder, what held him back until that moment right there. And he decides to put his name in the draft hat, which nobody knows the socioeconomic situation in terms of, Ricks and his background. But, for me, I would have loved to have seen him come back, build up more tape, build more eyeballs on him, put forth more consistent play performances on the field to make himself a concrete first-round guy. As it stands right now, he may look more of a second-round guy. So that was, to me, my surprise of who went to the draft. My surprise of who came back, I look at Will Reichert. I thought Reichert was going to go. I really thought Reichert was going to go after him having a perfect year as a kicker in 2020. Of his past season, had some big moments where he knocked down field goals. He is the all-time leader for career points in Alabama history. So I just thought Reichert was going to go. He put his name in the hat for the Senior Bowl, but decided to retract his name and come back for his senior year. Had conversations with his family, conversations with his fiance, now his wife. He recently got married a week or so back. So just really happy for Reichert to be back and looking forward to seeing how he finishes up or how he performs in his 5th season at Alabama.
And just to be clear about the Cormani McClain situation, of course, he is a hard commit to Colorado, but he had already been a hard commit to Miami and flipped at that point. So you're thinking that there's still a small possibility that Nick Saban's able to steal him back.
A small possibility, but when you're dealing with Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, best of luck to you. Deion can sell ice when ice come up.
There's no question about that. He's got some interesting things brewing there in Boulder. It's going to be intriguing to see how that all plays out. Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown Alabama. Get on over to his show, In My Own Words. It's every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 Central. Stephen, we catch you from time to time on the Paul Feinbaum show. You do a tremendous job there. You've been coming on here for years. You were just a credit to the industry. You're fine human being, and we just appreciate you being here.
Mark, I appreciate you guys. It's fun. It's fun to be on Paul, but we all started off with MarkRogersTV, so gotta always pay our respects to the legends here.
There we go. Thank you, Stephen. You have a great week.
You take care, man.